Hello and welcome to Mythology, Living and Non-Living Things by David Melville in conjunction with South Downs National Park, and I'm working through Enriching Environmental Encounters. So I'm here today in Seaford Primary School. It's specially selected as it's a place that I worked last summer, in fact. And what I'm going to take you through today is basically a whole day's activity, starting with obviously the morning. Very little investment is needed for the first part of the day, and then as the day goes on, there'll be an increase in investment from the school. But the first activity, I'm pleased to say, is something, if you've got a reasonable school grounds, you can do yourself. I just want to introduce you to this school ground because this is rather special, and I hope to be joined by our contact teacher who worked in collaboration with me last year, and also with the premises manager who happens to be a forest school practitioner, which is quite a useful combo for this sort of work. But let us just have a look at this forest school area which they've got. So that's the school, and we lead into the forest school area. I'm going to be against light tonight. Just checking everything is on, looking good. Yeah, so I've got this little track here which leads into climbing area, fire pits, and it all looks very different in February compared to the summer, but it's actually very quiet without the children. This was a frenzy of activity last July when I did this activity, mythology, and linking with living and non-living things to the national curriculum. So this is the immediate area, but they've also got another huge expanse, which is a sort of wild area, which they're opening up with pathways. The proper entrances are along that fence. So there's an entrance and an exit, and they're currently working on making that more accessible, as you can see. Yeah, so quite a blessing, really. So this activity, basically, I usually always like to start with getting the children engaged. I'm talking about 30 children in one class in Key Stage 1. And one of the easiest ways to get them engaged is to actually cut a card out, one between two, so it's about 15 cards, make a picture frame, and just ask them to go and look for something that captures their imagination. Pretty tricky in the winter, but not so tricky in the spring or summer. First of all, I would admire the green holly in this picture. Then they change over. Simple as that. Another way you can engage them is to have rainbow chips. So have a little bag of different colored chips. I think you do have to get this online. That would cost actually. And they just basically pick out a color and they match it with something. You can see this is blue. I would go for the sky today, something in nature, which is very beautiful. Okay, so then we come on to just explain to them that we're doing an activity on mythology. And the first thing, I like to start both the morning session and after break session with mystery. Today's mystery is, we didn't use the word phenomena, but that's what it is basically. I just say, when I was out here this morning, I came across a strange thing. I'd like you to help me to identify what it could possibly be. Of course, don't give any answers, just ask them what they think it would be. So if we head over to the mystery area, yeah, so I just take them, you get easily about 30 children around here if they all step back a bit, and I show them this. So we take lots of questions. Basically, they will be saying things like, oh, I think there might have been a vagabond staying overnight or something, and say, is it human or natural? And they try to work it out. And in the end, I just tell them, I think it might be dragon sneeze. Now, with this age group, they will believe you. I think the older ones will go, huh, yeah, you planted that yourself, sir, which is, of course, the truth. But with this age group, I think it sort of sets the tone for the rest of the day. At the end of the day, you'll have to tell them the truth, of course, but keep it going as long as you can. After we've done that, we then discuss with them what would it be like if they had to spend the night in these woods here, but reduced in size till they're just little people. Or you could say borrowers or fairies, whatever you want to call it. Little mammals, that's a good link at the end because you're going to talk about what sort of creature comforts would you need. So we go through, you'd need shelter, you'd need some food, you'd need some water, you might need some recreation, definitely no mobile phones, of course. I do give them a piece of string, big-hearted as I am, I give them a piece of string, and that's about the only resource you really need, just a piece of string. I encourage them to maybe make a little trapeze or a rope ladder. They'll have difficulties tying it at this stage, key stage 1, year 2, but you could always help them. So basically, they get divided into groups of 3 or 4. It's quite a lot of team building work because they have to work together as a team. And then they go off and they're given about 20 minutes to do that. So I would then stop them at that point, and then we'd go around and share with each other. And I'm just going to try and share the screen with one that I took a photograph of last year. They can use like pieces of wood or even a rubber tire or anything they find in the area. They don't have to just use natural things, although mosses and ferns and things like that are very good. So if I share the screen a second, just to show you something they made last year. Yeah, this is one that I particularly liked. They were very creative, almost like a bouquet of flowers. They had this wonderful old drum made out of cardboard, I think, and then they had for protection, for security. I didn't mention that security is also important. They had a car tire, which I thought was excellent. They could also drink the water that was inside the tire because the tire does tend to catch water when it's a bit of a storm. And yeah, I particularly like that one, but there are others as well. Okay, so then if you've got time, we go round every single one. They do actually listen to each other and you discuss the merits of the different creature comforts that they would need. If you've got time, you could take a photograph of the group together. There's usually one nominated speaker, and there's also it's good if they can all contribute a little bit. So that's really most of the morning's work. And that really sets the mythology off, their creative juices, thinking about what it would be like to live in these places. And they get a lot of excitement out of that and a lot of pleasure, a lot of fun. So after I've done that, then we turn to living and non-living things. Now, this can involve a little more expense. I'm very happy if you contact me by email just to list the things you might need. Not a lot of expense, but the first thing I start off with is another mystery. So let's go for the second mystery. So I take them, I just say, wow, I don't know how this happened, but I just discovered this thing. Has nobody seen it before? And of course, I plant it in the grass. Now I just take questions as to what could this be. Yeah, of course, it's a set of bones. And no answers at this stage, and their minds will go all over the place as to what it might be. And even some will say a dragon must have caught it, which is pretty far-fetched. But a lot will just say it's an animal that's been caught by a dog or a fox or something like that. At the end of this, I do tell them that I've actually planted this. That's mystery number 2. Again, lots and lots of ideas for this. Right, the 2 activities I do then after this introduction are basically trying to find some creatures, living and non-living. So we're switching from mythology into living and non-living things. And for this, I just use a net and a jar. If I can put you on the big screen again. Yeah, so these are the facilities you need. 1 net between 2 people. That's about 8 in a class. And then they catch a creature in the long grass. Not much chance today, but you never know. More likely to get slugs or a spider maybe. Yeah. So then we will catch. Yeah, there's something there that looks like a frog hopper. Then we will catch whatever we've got and try to identify it. Yeah, in a jar. So when they've actually done this, they can see what they've got. Usually in the spring, summer, it will be very small there. Usually in the spring, summer, it will be an adult at this time of the year. It may be a juvenile or something like that. So we just discuss the different creatures that they might see with the help of the forest. With the help of the FSC guide, Field Studies Council rather, and that's what we do for one part of the living things. The second part of the carousel, I go to another area, just be a couple of minutes, and basically it's a lovely sunny evening. We are against light. As soon as that sun goes down, that's the end of the video, I think. So I would basically, first of all, I would talk about the definition of a living and non-living thing, and I would use Mrs. Nerg mnemonic, MRSNERG, and you would go through. It has movement, it has reproduction, it has sensitivity, etc., etc. That mnemonic's pretty good. I would also then give them a bit of fun too, and we'd find a bit of a tree, give it a shake with a blanket underneath, and basically see whatever comes down. And if there's anything under a leaf for that, give it another shake. I mean, it is February after all. And yes, there's a few little spidery things there. Again, catch them in the jar without doing any damage, and then try to identify. It causes great excitement. I mean, they can see things like this, really small, looks like a fly, better than we can. And again, I'd use the Field Studies Council guides just to try to identify them. That would take us nearly up to lunchtime. If we have time, I would then practice a little song called I Like the Flowers in preparation for the afternoon's activity. So just to list the things that they're likely to need for this, basically it would be nets, specimen jars, Field Studies Council, guides. That's all really. Yeah, a bit of a blanket or something, but you could always recycle one from your own house. Takes us up to lunchtime, and then in the afternoon we would be then celebrating with another 2 carousels. No mystery this time. One of the things we do is to get round the fire. I'll explain that secondly. But for one of the carousel groups, one of the 15s, we would actually do some storytelling with rock art. And I've got my colleague Nicola Robards to explain that. So I'll just hand over to her for a few seconds. Okay, so just introduce you as Nicola Robards, and we worked in this last year. Yeah. Basically, I'm shaking a tree and it's a wee bit dusty. Okay, so do you want to hold it or explain? Yeah. Yeah, it's just.
Hello, I'm Nicola. So David came into our school and did a few activities, which I think he's explained to you. So one of the activities was the children made little dens for pixies and characters of their choice. And one of the things that we did when we went back to the classroom is we did some property description. So they became little estate agents, and we took photos of their work and stuck them in. And the writing they produced was incredible because they were so enthused with the tasks. I don't know if you're sending out anything, but I can always send you a photo of this to show people the kind of writing that came from year 2, but it's all in the experiences they had.
Just make sure that we get a bit of light from the sun facing you.
Yeah, it might be a bit dark.
Yeah.
So while David did a campfire activity with the children, I brought out some story stones that I'd made. I don't know if you're able to turn it round. Yeah, I'm not very coordinated.
Yeah.
So we made some story stones, and the children came out. They kind of sat in a circle to the middle of the circle and choose one of the story stones completely randomly. Made up their own story, but had to work in conjunction with what they'd heard before. So it was a really nice opportunity for them to experiment with language, work together as a team, make up something completely different. And the visuals were really powerful for a lot of the perhaps lower attaining children, because they could access the task just like any other child and kind of go a bit crazy with their thoughts, but really enjoyed the session. And as you can see, it could be any kind of thing. So they can just get creative in any spirit. And I think this goes back to any work that goes in the classroom. They're relating their outdoor experiences to learning, and still learning just the same as anyone else. So they really enjoyed that. Went to the fire pit with David, and then had the other half of the class as well.
Yeah. And some of them did tell the story around the fire too, didn't they?
Yeah, they
and
did.
Then did you say they used some of these ideas back in the classroom, as well as this? Can I take a picture of this? As well as this beautiful estate agent's a description of a property. Honestly, fantastic persuasion, head teacher's award, and there were many of these, weren't there? Every child did them. Some scans of them,
the language they used was so rich from their experiences, and because they'd made the dens themselves and really had those conversations with their friends, they had the vision. They just brought it to life in their writing, which as a teacher is something we always want.
So it helps with the creative writing then, doesn't it?
And then so I think David showed you the tree shaping activity, and they were looking at the creatures that might have fallen out. And as a class, we studied the book The Last Tree. It's a really, really fantastic text. And we linked it to the environment and being an eco school and things like that. Really fantastic illustrations and how trees will impact our future. So the session with David and the use of this book, we got the children to go back into the classroom and make a debate. Split the class in half of them, why should we keep trees, why are they good for environment, wildlife, etc., and the other half of the class, why should we cut them down? Well, they're useful for paper, they're useful for our forest school parts, all of those kind of things. And because I think they were arguing against the other half of the class, they were so energized. I've never seen them like it's a little bit scary at times, but again, the writing that they'd done was utterly amazing. I mean, if I read you a small extract from this child, you put, "I'm heartbroken that you want to shred down these marvelous bundles of oxygen. I mean, do you really want to demolish your trees which hold your air? You're just wasting wood, Some trees have only lived for a few weeks or months. Children, adults, and even babies are depending on trees and you're making them feel aghast about the trees. The animals will have no homes, comfort, or even family. The animals will hate you for doing this. Do you want to make creatures hate you? And so on. But I think because they're having all these experiences outside and you know it's part of them, they're connecting with a different environment, everyone can access it at their own level. Their writing outcomes are just fantastic.
It's amazing because you think it's Key Stage 1, year 2, so they're only 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah, only 6 or 7, and I've been just doing some assessments in the classroom, and the criteria for what they need is so long, but if we're giving them the experiences to kind of have a go themselves, it all comes from them.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah,
okay, that's it then.
So
thank you very much. It was good teamwork last year. Right, I shall continue with the second part of the carousel, which of course is the fire then, and we might even be joined by the premises manager, Mr. Grounds, for that. Thank you very much,
no worries.
Nicola. Thank you. That was quite a celebration in the afternoon of all of their different work. So while Nicola was doing that, because 30 is too many to have around the fire pit, it's actually got some health and safety concerns. It was absolutely brilliant that she was able to take 15 away and do something as creative as rock art. So with the other 15, we basically enjoyed ourselves. We came to the campfire. Let's go over to that area. Just the things before we go. I tell you, it's a lot easier doing this indoors, but you know, it's also nice to hear the bird song, even if some of it is herring gulls. Yeah, they're all important creatures, of course. Yeah, so while she was doing that, I just thought it'd be quite nice to celebrate the day. Remember, this is post-COVID funding, and a lot of these children have not had a chance to get out of school very much. So basically, I got some popcorn going. Again, this is the most expensive, unless you've got a forest school practitioner or somebody who's qualified doing the risk assessments for having a fire with children around. It's probably going to be something that you're going to have to pay for, but of course there are grants available with South Downs National Park, so it's always worth trying to see if they'll be available this summer too. I know they have some up until March, but more of that later. Yeah, so I'm just putting a little bit of it's really cold pressed rapeseed oil, made in this country, so brilliant stuff, specially selected. And then I put that in. I also then just add some popcorn. I think I need to take this off the fire first. Some popcorn. There we go. And yeah, and then that all has to be under fire. Now, I'm not going to be pure about doing this fire forest school style, because basically we have to be a bit convenient tonight, and I haven't had a lot of time to set it up. So what I propose to do is just to light this up. Just a quick demo, that's all. We might be joined by the premises manager, who I said was also a forest school practitioner. So I am using a match. I know for the purists it's not quite the done thing, but you know what? Needs must tonight. Yeah, so we basically in this area, we had a bit of a fire going. And sometimes it's like that when you've children and you have to light the fire quickly, and you're as busy as we all are doing education with children. You just have to get on with it. Okay, so I don't know how we're doing for time, but we'll probably get this popping tonight. Just wanted to demonstrate. So some of the things that the children loved seeing. The popcorn actually has to get to, the corn has to get to a temperature of about 100 degrees at least, maybe 150, before it'll actually pop. And yeah, it actually cooks really well in the microwave, but that may cheating a bit. That's always a last resort. So yeah, I've never had any trouble lighting the fire or basically giving the children lots of corn to eat. While they're doing that, then I'm going to try and set this up so that you can see. I just sing a bit of a song. How does it go? Well, if I set this up like that, let me see. It's called I Like the Flowers. I only need 4 chords for it. And they are G, E minor, flowers. I like the daffodils. I like the mountains. I like the rolling hills. I like the fireside when the lights are low. Boom-de-yada, 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 boom. I like the flowers. I like the daffodils. I like the mountains. I like the rolling hills. I like the fireside when the lights are low. Boom-de-yada, 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 boom. That works well, of course, with actions. You can even do rhymes, boys and girls, and basically something sing. Right, as far as I'm gonna go. You know, it's going to take a while for this corn to pop. In the meantime, let me just finish by sharing some important information if you want to follow this up. Let's have a look. I'm going to share my screen again. So, if you want to follow up any of this work in collaboration with South Downs National Park, just contact South Downs National Park, who can provide the setting or context for a locally relevant curriculum event for your school. Members of the South Downs Learning Network offer a range of trips, outreach sessions where we will come into your school to teach groups, online lessons and downloadable teaching resources. Please consider getting in touch as part of your planning to let us support you as much as possible. South Downs National Park can provide the setting or context for a locally relevant curriculum for your school. Members of the South Downs Learning Network offer a range of trips, outreach sessions where we will come into your school to teach groups, online lessons, downloadable teaching resources. Please consider getting in touch as part of your planning to let us support you as much as possible. We appreciate that for most people, trips into the national park aren't going to take place on a weekly basis, but by taking part in today's training, you are helping to build learning outside the classroom into your school's curriculum and affording the associated benefits to pupils and staff. We believe that understanding more about the national park, from nature to recreation to jobs, is an important part of young people's development, as they will be part of the landscape not just while in school, but for the rest of their lives. You will find all the education centres and providers on the South Downs National Park website. There are also teaching resources and information about grants for schools which can support your school with the costs of booking providers and travelling to sites in the national park. It's also worth checking on your local authority outdoor education advisor. They offer educational visit coordination coordinator training, and a range of help and guidance when it comes to practical matters around planning trips, including health and safety considerations and compliance. Finally, if today's session inspires you to discover more about the South Downs and national parks in general, it might be worth investigating the learning resources on the nationalparks.uk website, which includes a scheme of work consisting of 11 inquiries tracing the history of Britain's national park, exploring their purpose and defining qualities. The 7 inquiries focus on how different national parks are managing their precious environments for the future in a sustainable way. This includes finding ways to accommodate increasing numbers of visitors, overseeing biodiversity enhancement schemes, implementing flood control measures, and balancing the needs of economic development with those of environmental conservation. The scheme, with its wealth of resources, detailed background notes, engaging learning and teaching ideas and assessment guidance, has been written by specialists for teachers at Key Stage 2 and 3. The inquiries will find a natural home in geography, but also has strong cross-curricular links to English, mathematics, and other foundation subjects. Each is designed to enable pupils not only to build knowledge, but also to master and apply a wide range of geographical skills to ensure that they understand the significance of what they have learned. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. Thank you for listening. If I can help, don't hesitate to get in touch. Details are on my website or my email address by the signature Enriching Environmental Encounters. Thank you so much. I'm also very indebted to Nicola Robards, a teacher at Seaford Primary School, and to Derek Rounds, the premises manager, who set this whole site up, which, as you can see, is pretty top-notch. We look forward to working many times together in the future, or with other providers, which are also on the site. Now, just to finish, I'm glad to say that even with that small fire, it's actually producing some popcorn. Yes, indeed. Just demonstrating good practice and having a glove handy too. Oh, it looks like I might have produced something for a wee bit of a late snack. Thank you very much for listening. I'll leave you with the herring gulls of Seaford Primary School as the sun goes down. Thank you.